Hey guys, welcome back for another video. Today I've got a new dash system. This is from a company called Linkfun. This is their top of the line M100. Let's unbox it real quick, go through all the features, get it out, install it on the bike, do some tests. So this is another one with all the goodies. Here we've got the main unit. We've got 2 dash cams, GPS, remote, TPMS, all the accessories, blind spot detection, etc., etc. We're going to go through every single thing that comes in the box here. Got a nice protective screen on the unit itself. Pretty chunky bezels on this one here. They're about 3/4 of an inch on the side and about a half on the top and another 3/4 inch on the bottom. So definitely not the biggest screen we've seen. Actually, let me measure this real quick. So we're at 4.8 here diagonal. So this one does not have any kind of quick release system, but frankly, that's okay with me. Got a few DIN connectors here on the main unit, separate wires for them instead of a breakout cable. I like that. And it looks like we've got a nice length coming out of the system. I like that as well. That makes these able to be hidden and not visible up on the dash near the unit. That's the way to do it. On the back, we do have an anti-vibration mount and a ball, however, not even close to an inch standard ram size. So it'll have its own mount system here. Card slot on the bottom, and there is a 64 gig card included with the unit. Speaker on the back, built-in GPS. That's also what I like to see. I do not like the external GPS units, just one more thing to mount and run wires for, and that's it. Nothing else on the unit itself. We have 3 accessory boxes inside. In the first one here, we've got the cameras. Now, if I remember correctly, on the order page, they had 2 cameras available. And if I am remembering correctly, I did select the higher grade cameras. They should be metal. All right, let me get this out real quick. It's really in there. So yep, these are the upgraded metal cameras. Now, I do have to say, I'm not convinced going to metal makes any kind of quality difference, and it's definitely going to put more pressure on the adhesive here. I already have a problem with my rear cameras on the standard spot that I mount mine on sticking really well to the bike without drilling holes or putting in the screws, and they do give you screws if you want to make an actual permanent mount. So that's something to consider if you're ordering cameras, but quality matters the most. I'll take off the protective film here. And on the front camera, we have one short cable and a longer one here for the rear. So it does appear we've got 2 different cameras, and they may be different resolutions. I will find out, of course, after I use them, but we've got HD on the front and FHD on the rear, which is very strange that you would have what appears to be the lower resolution in front. That should always be the higher resolution. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there and what the differences are, but we'll find out. And accessory box number 2 just has a couple small bags, 3 small bags, some Velcro ties and some adapter rings to go around the bars and the actual bar mount for the main unit. And box number 3, now this is a little strange because I could have sworn I ordered the whole shebang, just has the power wiring and the user manual. So no blind spot detection, no TPMS. All right, I guess they shipped me the base model. It'll be a rather short review. Let's get it installed. And just verifying on the box here, they do list the remote, the TPMS, and the blind spot detection as optional, but yes, I was supposed to get them. And this might be why I didn't get them. It says the blind spot is not supported yet. Okay, so maybe they got some stuff coming in the future for it. So we're getting all wired up. I've got the power wire in. Just a mental note here, if you're going to use the adhesive for these metal cameras, you have to make sure that your surface is properly prepped and it has a nice flat surface, because these are going to put a lot of strain on that adhesive. These are like 3 times as heavy as your typical plastic cameras. Now, they did make 2 mistakes. I did contact the company and they said that the CF card was supposed to be taped to the outside of the box on the cello, and it wasn't. Now, on a whim, I opened up the slot to see what's in there. And my first thought was, oh, somebody put the card in there. but I can't get whatever this is out. I'm gently poking it with a screwdriver, and if it's a normal card, you push down and it springs back out, but it's not doing anything. It's just kind of moving a little bit. I'm going to try some tweezers, but sometimes these will have a plug in there. So I'm thinking maybe this just slides right out. I'll let you know in a second. And the other thing they goofed about was, actually, I brought it to their attention that the TPMS was missing. At the time of my order, if they were all coming with the unit, but my email let them know after they contacted the actual manufacturing factory of the unit that it's no longer standard. They are now optional to save the $30-some. So TPMS is optional, and I just don't have them. So tweezers worked, and it is a card, but the spring is broken. So just kind of sits in there. I'm going to put it back in and hope it stays. All right, luckily the spring is half broken. It actually clicks into place going in. It just doesn't spring back out, but you can yank it straight out. Now maybe that's the design and they just screwed it up. I don't know, but that's the way this one is. So kind of odd that somebody opened it up and put a card in here, but that's where it is. Yay, I did get a card at least. And just as a note, as usual, the screws are non-captured and they're tiny. So pay attention when you're taking them out. Now, having the ball mounts a non-standard size, ram balls are a standard 1-inch, that's nothing unusual, but this is unusually small, and it won't even work in the ram holders, even fully cinched down, no matter what size adapter I try. So I'll have to figure out something else to get this mounted. It's, of course, a non-standard mount on here as well. A lot of people, I can't remember the standard now, but there's a screw pattern standard for mounting GPS and things like that. None of these dash units fit any standards. They're all unique. Now, if like me, you need to mount either of the cameras in a position where you're only going to be able to get a tool on one side, you have to disassemble the whole thing. Pay attention, there's 2 small washers, and flip this bracket because it is asymmetrical. All right, I got everything mounted and connected. Now, I don't have any bars on the FJR, but I can use their bar mount to go to my ram ball. Using the middle spacer ring actually makes it rock solid. Now, it's just for the purposes of this review, but the adapter they give you would work on any bars, and it's just beautiful. It's all metal, very secure, doesn't move a millimeter. Great cable length. We've got tons of length to hide these and the connections wherever you may need to reach them, and plenty of room for all the wires. So I've got power, front and rear cameras all wired in, and my particular unit doesn't use anything on this optional plug. And again, I'll put a link down below to my Fuseblock. It's only $20. Absolutely makes plugging anything in like this super easy. So let's do first boot. Go through its setup, run through its features and functions, see what settings it's got. Got a nice cool little splash screen there. We're going to check out the boot time. I'm also going to reboot it, of course, and sometimes the first boot is a little slower than the regular, but that was just fine. It's already recording. We've got the auto light. Had some questions on other similar videos, and yes, anything with Dashcam automatically starts recording just with power. There's never anything manually you need to do to these. You just turn the bike on and they work. So it's a very nice looking automotive type screen. It's a little on the dim side. I hope it goes a little brighter. What you're seeing is about equivalent to my eyes. Now I'm here in the garage under studio lighting, but I've got the garage door shut, so there's no direct sun glare. A bunch of icons in the corner. They are really tiny. That's just for status. GPS, it shows we have a card in there and that kind of thing. Need to go through settings, change our unit of measure and all that. Got some automotive-like symbols and icons, obviously, so this is not customized for, oh, it's got touches there. Yeah, that is super dim. Let me actually modify the screen here so you can see how it looks to me. Nope, keep going down. Yeah, right about there is what it looks like to me in real life. So it's quite dim. Let's find settings first. Oh, there's definitely an auto brightness at work here, because just moving my hand around is changing the brightness. I hope it's not like one of the previous units I've done where it's, yeah, it is, unfortunately. It's moving on its own. The camera is auto exposing, but it's going up and down, up and down. just sitting here. So the first thing I want to do is find and disable that auto brightness. How do I get home? Yeah, this is definitely another one of those things where they're just using generic, probably Android off-the-shelf software, and it is not made for this. We got a little tiny icon of a motorcycle, but those are not motorcycle tires, for example. Just little giveaways like that. Let's go into settings. Sometimes brightness will actually be in settings where it's supposed to be, and sometimes there's some hidden screen where you have to swipe from an edge. I absolutely hate the way these guys are doing this these days. Please give me devices, if it's going on a motorcycle, just for motorcycles, not this generic half-customized stuff. Sorry, not a fan, never will be. I'm assuming system for sys, display and brightness. Well, at least they put that in the right place. Auto brightness, yes, no thank you. Now, how do we swipe? How do we actually change the brightness? Is there no setting for brightness, really? So all you can do is select auto or not, and it's just stuck on whatever you happen to get. I don't want a screensaver. Absolutely not. Well, we can customize our home screen at least. Yeah, it's again the standard 3 generic dashboards. How do we go back? Dashboard, there we go. So obviously, like a car, you got your front and rear tire pressures and temperature. So that's probably the one I would use since it's giving you the most information, and it's a very small screen, so you want the information to be big. That looks perfectly fine as a glance just to see your stats. So I like that. That's cool. Let's see. I just want to verify there's nothing else for brightness. I mean, that would really suck if there's actually no brightness control. But there is no swipe. Oh, here we go. I knew. See? You saw me swipe from the first time at the top, but no, only certain ways, certain positions. Anyway, here's full bright. Hardly any difference going to medium. From the middle down, it actually gets dimmer, but middle up, it's hardly doing anything. I'm just going to leave it all the way up, give it as much as we can. Let's see how the details look. Okay, I guess you got to wait for that to go away or tap somewhere else. There we go. Much, much better. Now you can actually see details in the shadows. Before, everything was just crushed and all I saw was really the outlines and stuff like that. Again, you're seeing more on the camera than you do in real life. All right. Why they don't put the actual brightness control in the brightness setting? Got me. All right, got everything wrapped up for the install. Got CarPlay connected here on the phone. Dashcams are aligned. Let's go through the settings here. Click the settings icon. Starts off with the video recording functions. You can record the mic or not. It's really not a lot of reason to record the mic, but you might get some voices, after a crash or something like that. But other than that, all you hear is wind noise. Recording duration is the size of the clips. The larger the size, the easier it is to find things, but the smaller the size, the quicker it is to pull a clip if you need it in an emergency. Your choice. Mirror image, self-explanatory if you need to flip one of the cameras. This does have parking monitor capability. Again, I don't suggest using it on a motorcycle. The batteries are just really small and you can run them down very easily. Here's where you can connect to Wi-Fi to directly pull files off to your phone. You have to disconnect CarPlay to do that. And then here we can see information about the card or format it. Let's go back. If we go into the function menu, we've got TPMS, which I don't have, but you got the normal options for it here. GPS. Here we can select our units of measure for our speedometer. It'll automatically set the time according to GPS, or if you connect CarPlay, it'll automatically do that as well. And you can just set whatever time zone and other information you'd like to see. BCM, I'm not sure. It might be body control module. Again, some other feature I don't have. I don't think it's for motorcycles, though. I think it's for cars. And then here's if you want to directly connect a headset to the unit instead of your phone, which nobody should be doing. Now if you go into system, went through that already. Language, you can set your language. Touch sound is if you want the click when you actually touch things on the screen. Your choice. I like it off. Assist button, I'm not sure what that does. I can't find anything. Restore just resets everything to factory. Version just shows you your firmware version. Clear connections is how you disconnect a pairing with your phone, and it's unfortunately unclear here which one you want to click if you don't want to do it. I'm going to assume that's no. Now if you go back to the dash, now we've got miles per hour, so that's good. This side screen does disappear, so you do have to double tap the screen if you want to change. This goes directly into CarPlay. This icon here will take you out of CarPlay back into the main system. However, when you click it, it takes you back into the CarPlay Bluetooth connection screen. It should be taking you back to the dash screen. CarPlay itself is small, quite small. I mean, you can see the icon size compared to my finger. It's going to be tough with gloves to hit the right icon here on certain screens and apps, that's for sure. But the response is very speedy. No problem whatsoever with navigation or using the screens. Nice and quick. And then this third icon here is your dash cam control. Now another interesting thing, unfortunately, it does not hold the brightness setting. When you reboot it, it defaults back down to here. Even with auto on or off, it does remember what you toggled auto on or off, but it does not remember your level. So you got to freaking adjust the brightness every single time you turn it on. Extremely annoying. Just another bug that shouldn't be there. You can tap the screen to bring up the controls, and you've just got the normal flip and change cameras, and that's really about it in here. You can play back anything that's been recorded, but pretty standard dash cam controls.
So this will be kind of a short review because all I really have to test here is the responsiveness of the unit, and it's perfectly responsive. However, as I suspected, it is very difficult to get to a lot of the small things, especially on the CarPlay screen, with my gloves because the icons are just too small. On the plus side, it's not dimming in high heat here in Florida. On the downside, it's not very bright to begin with, and it is here on full brightness. I had to manually put it up, as I said before, when I booted it up this time. So this is basically just going to be a dash cam test at this point. We've got bright, sunny daytime conditions here. We'll see how it looks. I'm very curious about the resolution of the cams. As far as I'm aware, the marketing material said 1080p front and rear. However, the markings on the two cameras give me pause with that HD and FHD nomenclature. So I'll find out in editing and put it up on the screen. I do really like the display here that I chose to put up on the screen. It's got the speedo right in the center, and it's very easy to read. The font there is just fine. That's about the same size as my thumbnail, so you can glance at it. You don't have to wonder. It's right there, and it's got the nice little sweep, and it's very fluid. It's not a jumpy, kind of weird display. It's very high res, and it just sweeps around like a normal car display would. That works really well, and I have no doubt if it had the TPMS, you'd see the numbers there, and it would look the same as well. So no problem there with the dash. If you're looking for something like that, just want to put a nice digital display on your bike. And if you have a small bike, even better, because it's a small unit, well, there you go. That works perfectly. And now to wrap it up, we've got the night test of the dash cams. I did put the display on to automatic, and it did dim it all the way down. And that actually looks really good here at night. Completely matches my dash brightness. That's good. So basically, if you don't want to use the automatic, which I wouldn't suggest until it fits the firmware with that popping up and down, you basically have it all the way up in the day and all the way down at night, and you're good. So we're going to be checking out the details here, front and rear camera. There's your plate test. One car length behind it.